Hello boys and girls, Mr. Wiseman here today to read you a story from Frog and Toad Are Friends. I'm looking out our window and it's a little bit sunnier today, so you should be able to see the pictures a little better. Frog and Toad Are Friends by Arnold LaBelle. Now, yesterday we read about spring. Today is the story. So listen to this story. One day in summer, Frog was not feeling well. Toad said, "Frog, you are looking quite green." "But I always look green," said Frog. "I am a frog." "Today you look very green, even for a frog," said Toad. "Get into my bed and rest." Toad made Frog a cup of hot tea. That's a win-win. Frog drank the tea and then he said, "Tell me a story while I am resting." "All right," said Toad. "Let me think of a story to tell you." Toad thought and thought, but he could not think of a story to tell Frog. "I will go out on the front porch and walk up and down," said Toad. "Maybe that will help me to think of a story." Toad walked up and down on the porch for a long time, but he could not think of a story to tell Frog. Then Toad went into the house and stood on his head. "Why are you standing on your head?" asked Frog. "I hope that if I stand on my head, it will help me to think of a story," said Toad. Toad stood on his head for a long time, but he could not think of a story to tell Frog. Then Toad poured a glass of water over his head. "Why are you pouring water over your head?" asked Frog. "I hope that if I pour water over my head, it will help me to think of a story," said Toad. Toad poured many glasses of water over his head, but he could not think of a story to tell Frog. What's he going to do? Then Toad began to bang his head against the wall. That is not a win-win. "Why are you banging your head against the wall?" asked Frog. "I hope that if I bang my head against the wall hard enough, it will help me to think of a story," said Toad. "I am feeling much better now, Toad," said Frog. "I do not think I need a story anymore." "Then you get out of bed and let me get into it," said Toad, "because now I feel terrible." Why does he feel terrible? Frog said, "Why, would you like me to tell you a story, Toad?" "Yes," said Toad, "if you know one." "Once upon a time," said Frog, "there were two good friends, a frog and a toad. The frog was not feeling well. He asked his friend the toad to tell him a story. The toad could not think of a story. He walked up and down on the front porch, but he could not think of a story. He stood on his head, but he could not think of a story. He poured water over his head, but he could not think of a story." This story sounds familiar. He banged his head against the wall, but he still could not think of a story. Then Toad did not feel so well, and the frog was feeling better. So the toad went to bed, and the frog got up and told him a story. The end. "How was that, Toad?" said Frog. But Toad did not answer. He had fallen asleep. Again, Toad sleeping? All right, well, tomorrow we'll read A Lost Button. Ooh. Bye.